Pussies, power plays, and pricing games? We got to talk about Real Housewives of Potomac. Hi, if this is your first time seeing me, my name is Brittany, and I discuss all things power, influence, and conflict through the lens of entertainment. And today I want to recap the latest episode of the Real Housewives of Potomac because we are still deep in the trenches of the Colorado trip. But I want to really kind of elevate some of your observations to provide context for them because if you felt off while watching it, it wasn't just you. When it came to the pink pussies of it all, we know this is really what Ashley is here for. Anything that has to do with partying, having fun, breaking boundaries of all kinds, she's there for it. And this is why I think Ashley needs to be a friend of. She doesn't need to be full time. She can come on the trips, she can do the fun stuff. But other than that, we don't care about her beige backstory, pun intended. And we also really don't care about what she has going on other than the fact that she is enjoying the fallout of her separation from Michael. And no matter how many Chloe sweaters we see, she's never going to lose that beer budget thinking. Good for you, Ashley. Stay true to you. When it comes to the power plays, I've said this time and time again. Angel may very well be a good person in real life. She probably would be somebody that we would want to be friends with. She is absolutely not housewives material, not because she's not a housewife. She has all of the accoutrement of being a housewife. But when it comes to presence, emotional processing in real time, I think she may almost be perhaps too healed and not delusional enough to be a housewife. But when it came to the hosting of it all, it things happened again beyond her control, but things that were within her locus of control, i.e., checking on the women periodically throughout the night, that was something she failed to do, and it came back to bite her in a major way. We all know that the OG Giselle does not like that was weird. Anyway, we all know the OG Giselle does not like to be laughed at. And so when Angel got her back, giving her that decently sized room that she had to share with Ashley, Giselle got to plotting, and this time it was really out of necessity that they needed to move to the Four Seasons in, I believe it was Denver. Either way, Angel, this trip was not what you wanted it to be. It happens. Could try to go with the flow. It looks like the ladies kind of got past it, but I just don't want to see her in this media. Perhaps on like Love and Marriage DC or something else, but she is not these ladies' speed, and that's okay. Also, while she is not Kay's responsibility, Kay, in my opinion, is not doing enough to show up for her friend. And if I were Angel, I would be pissed. But again, Kay has very little power when it comes to this group, and she is still willing to, even from the start of the season, throw her friend under the bus if it meant her getting closer to some of the OGs, i.e., Giselle. So my expectations of her are very small. What I really want to draw your attention to and what irritated me about the show was the little pricing game that they played in Kemo Sabe. Now, this is not the first time we've seen Kemo Sabe on The Housewives. We've seen it when it came to Beverly Hills. The women came, they shopped. And as they do with every Housewives franchise, there's always perhaps a little ka-ching sound in the background and a summary of how much the women purchase. This is the first time, I believe, in watching a majority, if not all of the housewife cities, where the women have gone around and celebrated how much they spent. And my issue with that is because this is the Black Housewives show. And we should take issue with the way that we are presented with this. Here's why. In the United States, racial economic inequality is just rampant, right? It is a fact of life. So I went on inequality.org because your girl loves the source. And as of the second quarter of 2025, the median white worker made 24% more than the average Black worker. And that's accounting for education, similar roles, similar duties, responsibilities. So even, of course, even if you do the same job, you are very often making less. How does that relate to the housewives? Well, my view is that the housewives has a socioeconomic and sociopolitical value. Reality TV is reflecting what we aspire to be, who we aspire to be, who we hold as valuable and powerful. And many of these themes are going to be reflected back to us. It's kind of a chicken or an egg sentiment. I've seen viewers call it the Real Housewives of Potomac. I don't like that. That has some racial undertones that I'm not comfortable with. But what I will say is it's very clear that these women, I've talked about it before, they have high social capital, low economic or low financial capital, or lower than some of the other women in a Beverly Hills, for example. But this idea of going around and saying how much they paid for things instead of doing what production always does, which is to just summarize their shopping and to see that the shopping that they did was not astronomical, right? It was, well, to some, right? But I think Ashley perhaps spent the most. She spent like 5K on a belt, but most of the other women paid maybe, $100 there, $500 here. Nothing wild. I didn't understand why we needed to be presented with a segment where the women went in a circle, said how much they spent, which again was relatively low considering who comes into Kemo Sabe and how much they likely spend, and then celebrate it. It was cringe, it was crass, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. It felt very gauche. And then for Wendy, of all people, to go around and say, not only am I rich, but my kids are rich, and here's what I spent. I get really bad secondhand embarrassment, and that just took the cake for me. I don't know. What do you think about it? And I think that we as viewers are meant to come away with this feeling of discomfort or cringe around it because one, we haven't seen it in other Housewives shows, but two, um, to really have these women celebrate in a way where again it wasn't we don't see that happening on Beverly Hills where these women are walking around with 30 and $40,000 bags. They're not going around and saying, I spent 20K at Kemo Sabe. I spent, you know, even if it is $5,000, I think to mention the price is to reiterate to you that these women are um less wealthy and less valuable than some of the other housewives. And I don't like production playing in our face in that way. Let me know what you think. And as always, I hope you have the day you deserve. Bye.